before every performance, there's that little lingering doubt of...
What did you say?
Shush! We are recording something.
I just bashed in your car.
I hope that's not true.
What?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Siegfried Tieber talks about how he fooled Penn and Teller, got his own one-man show in Los Angeles, and what to do when someone hits your car during an interview. Stay tuned for all of that and more on this week's About to Break. Why this intro has been so hard to do this morning. Some of those mornings, your voice isn't working, your brain's not working. Have you ever had that happen? It happens to me a lot. Happened just now. Anyway, we're doing it. This is the first recording that we're doing from the new studio, aka backyard office, aka studio shed, aka world shed quarters. I can't believe we did it. We talked about this for a long time. We wanted to have a space. And, part of being an artist and living in California is being creative with how you do things on a financial level and just what's possible and what space you've got. And in our tiny little backyard, we found a corner and we built a studio out of a tough shed. And it's stinking amazing, you guys. It sounds really cheesy when I say we built a studio out of a shed, but I'm talking we built a building. We insulated it. We've got it all set up. There's air and heat, and it's just awesome. You need to see it. You need to see it. I need to make a video. I will make a video for the YouTube page. I've said that already. I need to keep my promise. I will, now that we've finally finished it, I'm going to make a video so that you guys can see it. And I think you're really going to enjoy it. And then if you're ever in the great city of Upland, California, you can come hang with us. Come check out the World Shed Quarters for yourself. I stinking love it. Anyway, Katie and I just got back from Atlanta. We were at a friend's wedding. I actually officiated the wedding, which was fun. I haven't done that in a while. It's not something I do a lot, but I just for friends or family, every few years someone will ask. And a couple that we absolutely love just got married, and they're such good people. The wedding was fun. It was a wild wedding. But I've noticed that most weddings change throughout the evening. It starts as family reunion at like 5 o'clock. Then by 7 o'clock, it feels like a work Christmas party. Then by like 9 o'clock, it's like, it gets a little emotional. It's like season 3 of Party of 5. And then like 11 o'clock, it's an episode of Cops. And then by 1 in the morning, we're watching ER. So anyway, it was a good wedding. We had a good time. We really quick trip. We flew out there for the wedding and hung out with some friends. And then we came back home and finished up the old studio. And now we're live. We're going live here. A couple things going on with the podcast that I would love to let you guys know about. First thing, this is kind of big news. We've had people talking for a while about is the podcast available on Spotify? And, up until this point, it's been available on our website, on iTunes, on Google Play, on Stitcher, YouTube. We've got a YouTube page, and it's up there. All the episodes are on YouTube. I am happy to say that we are now officially on Spotify. So you can go follow us on Spotify. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. You can download on Google Play. But wherever you listen, if you could do us a favor, if you could go leave a review, leave us a 5-star review. And that makes a huge difference. I never really understood the value of reviews because I always thought, people that review things on Yelp are just people that are generally like people who have the time to sit and review things. And so I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on, but if you could take a moment and just review us on iTunes, that would be huge, or on Google Play or wherever you listen. If you could just give us a little shout out, let people know what you think. A lot of folks have come to the podcast because they heard from friends of the podcast who just took a minute and left a comment and told people what they thought. So thank you to everyone who's done that. Thank you so much for going out there and taking that extra moment to like the podcast and to share it with your friends. Also, I would love to hear from you guys about a couple of things. Do you prefer, first of all, to listen or to watch content? We do have a YouTube page. As of right now, we're just posting audio on the YouTube page and periodic videos from shows and things like that. But I'm thinking now that we've got the studio set up, maybe we'll start live streaming on YouTube some of the interviews, and you get to see the unedited kind of fun version. Would you like that? I don't know. It might be a little work, but we'll do it if you'd like it. So let us know if you'd like to see either some behind the scenes stuff, or if you would like to be able to actually watch these interviews as they're happening. That's something we can make happen. So let us know. Send us a little email on our website, or you can send us a private message on social media, and follow along on everything that's going on Instagram and Facebook and all that jazz. So that's just About to Break podcast on those platforms. So thank you guys for reaching out. Thank you to everyone who's been emailing us, letting us know what you think about the show. And a huge thank you to all the producers of the show. The producers are our friends. These are folks who listen to the podcast and enjoy it. For as little as $1 a month, you can be a producer of the show. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/about to break. Again, that's patreon.com/about to break. And you can be a friend of the show. You can be a producer of the show for as little as $1 a month. We have some people who give $1 a month. We have some people who give much more than that. But everybody makes it possible for us to do things like create a space here where we can produce more shows. We just got some upgraded equipment that was needed. Some things were not working so great, and so we got some new mics and things like that. So thank you to everybody who's been going above and beyond and helping us produce the show. If you're interested in becoming a producer of the show, please visit patreon.com/about to break, or just go to our about to break podcast.com and click on the become a producer button, and you too can be a producer of this podcast. Episode 51 of the About to Break podcast features Siegfried Tieber. Couple things about Siegfried. Siegfried is a magician, but he's not any magician. I'm talking about the guy who fooled Penn and Teller. And if you haven't seen his episode of Fool Us, I encourage you to go check it out. It's available on YouTube there. Go over, check out Siegfried Tieber, Fools Penn and Teller, and it was so fantastic. The thing that was amazing to me wasn't that he fooled them. I mean, that's great. That's great that he fooled them. But ultimately, performance isn't just about tricking someone. It's about creating a moment. We talk all about that in here. Penn and Teller had so many nice things to say about Siegfried. Well, Penn did. Teller just smiled a lot and nodded, but he agreed. But you can't not love this guy. He had a hugely successful run in downtown Los Angeles with a show called Seesaw. It's a one-man immersive magic experience. We talk all about that, and he's truly one of the great guys in the business. I know you're going to love it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 51 of the About to Break podcast with my buddy, Siegfried Tieber.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Something is about to break.
Hey everybody, welcome to About to Break. I'm your host, Taylor Hughes, and this week I'm so excited to have my friend Siegfried Tieber on the show. Hi, Siegfried.
Hi, Taylor. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good. It's a lovely day in Southern California. We're sitting outside. I just caught your show at the castle today, and this is cool. I didn't, I've never been to a Friday lunch.
I had been to a lunch maybe twice in my life,
Okay.
but I hadn't ever performed at the lunch.
Oh, so was it a fun experience doing the lunch?
It was. It was very, very different from the performances you get during night time. Just different. Not better or worse, just
Yeah.
different, but people were very kind, and it seemed like they appreciated the performance.
Yeah, a lot of, at least the show I was in, I mean, a lot of people stuck around afterward to talk and to just ask you questions and to
Yes,
compliment different aspects of the show.
Yes, that happened. But that's very nice. I appreciated that very much. And that actually happened with the show you saw. For our listeners, I did this performance, basically close-up magic, but it revolves around the idea of gambling, of a gambling demonstration,
Yes.
which often evokes questions that all of us have. You know how people cheat at cards and what happens at casinos and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
So usually when I perform this act, people hang out and we have strange and wonderful conversations.
It's fun, too, because during the show, you talked about how you don't play cards. And I don't play cards either. I think people naturally assume that if you can manipulate cards, you're going to use that as an advantage. And
Definitely, yes. And people assume, first of all, that if you're a magician, you must know how to cheat at cards.
Right.
And if you are able to, many people assume, maybe you might. Maybe you might actually do it, yeah.
Did you make a conscious decision to say, because I'm learning these techniques, I'm going to avoid situations where I'm playing cards, or do you just not enjoy it as much as performing?
No, I guess it would be the second option.
Yeah.
That I haven't really ever got an interest in card games. I find them fascinating.
Yeah.
The psychology and the level of mental skill that some games require,
Right.
I find fascinating. I'd love to eventually really learn how to play at least blackjack and poker, just because I find the subjects interesting.
Well, and I can tell that you do a lot of research on all these different topics, but in your presentation when you're talking about gambling, you were talking about the odds of like getting a royal flush. It was, what was it, one in 650,000?
Yes.
Do you mind saying for the listeners what you said about how, I don't want to put you on the spot and make you perform, but if you played, how you could play every day?
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
Because this is just amazing to me.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And then again, just as a background to this, while developing this acting, which I would talk about gambling, a topic on which I'm, then again, not an expert, it led me to do some research and read, and led me to very interesting findings.
Yeah.
And then again, for our listeners, what I'm doing is basically we have a deck of cards. The deck of cards is shuffled, and I propose a friendly game of poker, the traditional 5-card draw poker, and I'm dealing for 5 people around the table, myself being player number 5. So early on, I introduced the idea that the odds of being... I explain a few of the basic hands in poker. There is a pair, 2 pairs, 3 pairs, but of course the craziest hand you could possibly dream of in poker is a royal flush.
Yes.
Fun fact, the odds of getting a royal flush by mere chance are approximately 1 in 650,000. You could play 10 rounds of poker every day, 365 days a year for 100 years in a row. Chances are still you would never even see a royal flush.
That is absolutely insane to me.
And the fact that it's true, it's mind-blowing. I was... somebody made me realize this not too long ago, because I was doing this show in downtown Los Angeles.
Yes, I want to talk about the seesaw.
Few people, I love to talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was doing this gambling demonstration there.
Yeah.
And somebody did a write-up about the show, and what called this person's attention the most was the gambling demonstration. And I guess that I think I hadn't really noticed this at my heart of hearts. Anyway, what this person said was that what I'm doing and what you're seeing at the show is a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence, because a royal flush, that's something that you might go an entire life without seeing. Of course, it's fictionalized, because then again, we are manipulating the cards. But if you think about it, I'd like to think, I'm not the one to say this, but I'd like to think that what's underneath that is something quite interesting and beautiful. The fact that you're seeing this thing that many people might not see in a lifetime.
I love that you talk about that, because there's something that I was mentioning this earlier. Your show is not just, hey, look at me, look what I can do. It is very much inviting people to experience something that we are doing together, and that is a unique thing. You know, it's our mutual friend David Stryker is the one who told me about 52 factorial with the odds
mind-blowing
of a deck of cards, that literally if you wanted to figure out how many different combinations there are of a deck of cards being in an arrangement, it's, what is it, 52 times 51 times 50
Yeah.
until you get down to 1.
Yeah.
And the number is so astronomical. It's like more than there are, stars in our solar system.
Yes, it's hard to believe, but it's true. It's fascinating.
And when you bring something like that into the presentation, it reminds people that as crazy as that is, this environment is more unique than that.
Yeah.
Never have this group of people come together at this moment, at this time, for this purpose. And there's something powerful, I think, about just reminding each other, let's be present with one another.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And then again, I'm happy to hear you say that comes across in the performance. It is my highest hope that people walk out of that room thinking and deeply believing that we co-created. All of us created this thing. It's not a display of my skills, but it is this thing that all of us are nurturing and experiencing together.
Yes. It's, are you a sports fan at all?
Not much.
I have never followed any sport. I've always found it interesting, though, that I feel like in sports, there's this idea, it's like, it's our team, or we won, or we did it. And it couldn't be further removed from the actual thing that's happening. But yet, in your show, I really do feel even though you're doing all of the work, you're the one practicing when no one's around. You know what I'm saying? But in the moment, I really feel included in this moment. Different than watching a sporting event,
I'm very pleased to hear you say that. That is my highest hope. I'm glad that comes across, I guess.
What inspired you with that? Because I know that you've been a fan of magic and doing magic for many, many years, but that's not an idea that I think is presented in magic very often. I think one of the reasons that we face challenges as magicians is a lot of people think that it's just, you can do something I can't do. Like Seinfeld says, here's magic, here's a quarter, now it's gone, you're a jerk, now it's back, you're an idiot. Which I can see you cringing as I say that, because that's not what you or I want to communicate. So, but where did that passion for you come from? You say that's your highest goal. What inspired you to want to create that in a magic show?
First of all, I appreciate your kind words very much. Well, that's an interesting question. I guess that there are many different kinds of magic. Of course, my main love is close-up magic.
Yeah.
I think that close-up magic can exist only for up to 30 people. I think that if you go beyond that, it's not really essentially close-up magic anymore.
Yeah.
I do some stand-up magic and stage magic for larger groups of people. But then again, my personal favorite is definitely close-up magic.
Yeah.
What I'd like to think that I realized a few years ago is that there are a few aspects of close-up magic that make it unique and different from any other art form. I think that what makes magic as an art form different from any other performance arts is that idea of bringing mystery into what we are doing. Many people have tried to define magic in different ways. I don't know if you've heard about this one. In my mind, the best definition I have ever stumbled upon is Max Maven's definition of it. Many people might not know who Max Maven is, right?
Brilliant.
Max Maven is a mentalist, a mind reader, meaning an entertainer, a magician who creates the illusion of reading minds and psychic powers.
Right.
He's somebody who is extremely beloved and admired in the magic community. He has done great contributions to the art of magic, both in the tricks and techniques and theory and philosophy of magic. Anyway, where I'm going with this, I stick to Max Maven's definition of magic. He said, or he defined magic as an aesthetic exploration of mystery. In no other art form is mystery so essential as it is in magic. Other art forms might include mystery, but magic is essentially about this thing that we don't get to explore and see match anymore. So, where I'm going with all of this, I think that mystery in itself is what separates magic from many other art forms.
Right.
And I think that especially in close-up magic, because it's so immediate and the physical proximity is so essential, we really can create and transmit that sense of mystery. Hey, here is a completely normal deck of cards. Go shuffle it and make sure that it's normal. I rolled up my sleeves. Look, here is a card. Boom, it transforms into a completely different card.
Oh, yeah.
There's nowhere to hide, no secret trapdoors, no black backdrop. So
Right.
you are face to face with mystery.
Right.
And another aspect that I think makes close-up magic very peculiar is that you are in direct connection and interacting closely with people. Put very bluntly, most performance arts, in any other performance art, you go to the theater, you
Right.
sit down, you shut up,
You
and the
watch,
person on the stage talks.
Even in stand-up comedy, which
Exactly.
I love. I love
Exactly.
stand-up.
Yeah.
But stand-up is very much, they don't want the audience. They want them to laugh.
Exactly.
But they don't want them to,
Exactly.
engage. It's not a conversation.
Exactly, it's not a conversation. You could argue that the conversation is there because of the applause and the
Right.
laughs and the energy, but in close-up magic, you are actually encouraging conversation during
Yeah.
the course of a close-up performance.
That's very
Different
interesting.
people are making decisions that actually influence the outcome.
Right.
So-
It is kind of melding improv with it, because there are so many, when you ask a question during a performance,
Yeah.
whereas with stand-up, it's set up, punchline, you laugh, set up, punchline, you laugh. But when you engage the audience in close-up, you're right. Everyone who picks a card is going to choose a different card.
Yes.
When they give an option, they could choose this option or that option, and that's going to change what you planned. So, yeah, that is interesting. It's like constantly breaking that fourth wall that exists in theater.
Yes, definitely. And I would venture to say that in close-up magic, there's no actual fourth wall, because all of us are in this thing together.
I love that.
Yeah. But then again, sorry. And
No,
I go
I'm
on
geeking
tangents.
out thinking, no,
but-
not a tangent at all. That's not a tangent at all.
And I guess then to answer your question, I'd like to think that's what I try to put up front in my performances.
Yeah.
That granted, I practiced some sleight of hand and I wrote a script, but this thing we are creating right now, all of us together.
Yeah. That's beautiful, and it's gonna be different every time.
Yeah.
I brought up improv, but one of the things I love about really good improvised comedy is that where something's gonna happen right now, and it's never gonna happen again.
Yes.
It's what the lady said in your show today when she said, "I'm experiencing something that's a once in a lifetime thing."
Yeah, but that's beautiful about any kind of live performance, I
Yeah.
think. But probably it shines most brightly in close-up magic.
It's one of the things that's funny to me about magic is that magic is one of the oldest art forms around. It's been around forever, right? And yet it's built upon a series of secrets, like you said, the mystery. And again, a great performance isn't just about the secrets, but we live in a world where anybody can go on the internet and get instant access to information.
Yeah.
And you would think that would mess us up as magicians, but what I've found, and you could speak to this, but is now people connect with that mystery so much greater because they don't experience mystery in their life. They just ask Siri and they instantly know.
Yes, but I agree with that. I'd say that if there has even been a need for mystery in our lives, this is the time, because it's so rare. It's rarer than any previous time in human history.
Yeah.
Because, as you mentioned, access to information is everywhere and easy to get nowadays.
You just finished this run of your show Seesaw.
Yes.
This is your one-man magic show. Very unique experience. Can you describe for folks who didn't get a chance to see what it's like when people came to see Seesaw?
Yes, indeed. Well, it was we'd like to consider it an immersive experience.
Yes.
I think that it's kind of trending nowadays, and for the last few years has been a new kind of experience, new-ish, I say. So, anyway, the point of the project was that it wouldn't be, we didn't want it to be a straightforward performance, but a whole comprehensive experience.
Yeah.
So, let's say on Thursday night, doors would open at 7 p.m.
Okay.
You would be invited into this space, the size of a large-ish living room.
Okay.
There was a stage set up there. The stage would consist of a large casino-style table that would sit 10 people around it.
Okay, great.
There were 2 rows of chairs, the one immediately next to the table and one behind. So it would sit a total of 24 people.
Oh,
This
wow.
was on one corner of the room.
Yeah.
On the other corner of the room, we had a bar.
Yeah.
For people to get a beer, wine, drinks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And all throughout, scattered throughout the room, we had little exhibitions, interactive exhibitions, that all of these revolved around the art of magic. We had some books, we had practice tools for a magician,
Oh, wow.
we had a mirror for practicing, we had different, some books that wouldn't directly relate to magic,
Yep.
but to other art forms, so that there would be some connection. So different exhibitions that people would be able to take a look at. So you'd be welcome into this room, and I'd be hanging out there with people.
From the get-go. You're not behind a curtain somewhere.
Exactly. No.
Because I noticed even today when we came into
Oh.
your show, and you're sitting there greeting everyone as they come in.
Yes.
I thought that was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm always trying to remember people's names. More often
Yes,
than not,
huge.
I fail miserably, but I try.
Yeah, it's
so,
important. Yeah.
Then again, in this performance, we'd open the doors, say 7 p.m.,
Yeah.
welcome people to this space. We'd be hanging out for about half an hour.
Yeah.
Then a bell would ring. People would be summoned to the table. The performance would begin. I'd be introduced by the host.
Yep.
The performance would begin there would be a 30-ish minute performance.
Yep.
Then we would have a 15-minute intermission.
Okay.
And
Give
then
people
the
a chance
second...
to grab another drink. Yep.
Exactly. And take a second look around
Yeah.
the room and whatnot. And then after the intermission, there would be the second part of the performance, which was approximately 45 minutes.
Yeah.
After that, I'd also invite people to hang out and ask questions and have a conversation.
Oh, that's
so
great.
the point of this was to give people a legitimate peek behind the scenes of the art of magic. Then again, not only the performance, but before and after watching the performance, encourage them to share their thoughts and ask
Yeah.
questions.
What kind of questions did you get from the audience?
Yeah.
What were some?
From all different kinds of crazy questions.
Yeah.
Some of these would come from the exhibitions that were set up around the room.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with James Randi?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
One of the exhibitions would be a few of James Randi's books. If some of our listeners don't know about James Randi, he's still alive. I
Yes.
think in his mid-80s probably, but still active in the community. He began as a magician
Yep.
and escape artist, and nowadays is considered the leading authority in the world
Right.
on all things skepticism.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there was this exhibition and a few of his books there, and that some people would be familiar with James Randi, and they would ask about Randi and the connection to magic.
Oh, wow.
Some people would not be familiar with Randi.
Oh, so they knew about him as a skeptic, but not as...
Exactly. More
Wow.
often than not, nowadays people would know about him as a skeptic, and they would wonder why I have those books
Yeah.
laying there.
And for those who don't know, when we say the word skeptic, he is exposing and also bringing awareness to the fact that there are people in the world using the same exact techniques magicians are using, whether these be psychics or mediums or faith healers, to, rather than entertain people, and give them an experience, they're using it to take something from them,
Yes.
and usually money.
Exactly. Generally
You know,
money.
trading people's hopes for dollar bills.
Yeah.
So, and he still does his challenge, right? His $1 million challenge, or is that still going on? Or?
That stopped just a few years ago.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know why. I don't know if probably maintaining or the reception. It had huge reception.
Oh, yeah.
But many people were interested.
Yeah, he used to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
a thing where, and probably just the challenge of maintaining so many people trying to do this, but he would offer $1 million reward for anybody who could genuinely present psychic ability or supernatural ability, and I think hundreds of people went through it.
Yes,
Nobody-
would apply, but nobody ever
ever-
came
yeah.
even close to it.
Yeah. It'd be simple things like people would say they could like astral project, and he'd like put a cardboard box on their head and say, just, I wrote something on the chalkboard, just leave your body, read what's on chalkboard, come back and tell me, and I'll give you $1 million.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. That's wild, man. So you created this whole experience that, what I love about it is it's inviting people to ask questions, not just by the exhibits,
Yeah.
but then you also say, what do you want to talk about? And you
Yes.
hang out afterward.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people that struggle with magic as an audience member isn't that they don't like it, but it's that they have questions and they don't get answers.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. Yes, definitely. Sometimes, sorry, I
Oh, no.
might be going on a tangent here, but now that you mention it, I cannot, for my life, I cannot remember who said this, but I heard a few years ago a magician expressed the idea that, many people might say that they don't really like magic.
Yeah.
And if you would ask many of these people who claim not to like magic, they haven't ever seen a live performance
Right. Oh, yeah.
in their lives. And then again, this person expressed.
Yeah.
He expressed
Yep.
the fact that claiming that you don't like magic is like claiming that you don't like music.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
you haven't found the right kind of magic that you like.
If someone told you
But-
they don't like music, you would think, this person's psychotic.
Exactly, yes.
Like-
or psychotic, or go listen to more
Yeah,
music.
go
like
expose yourself
explore
to the
around.
world,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I do think that the same applies to magic. Maybe people have seen
Yeah.
the kind of magic they don't personally love, or maybe they have seen poorly performed magic,
Yes.
and that created an
Put a bad
impression.
taste in their mouth.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
yeah. It could be too. Sometimes if people grow up in maybe a background or whether culturally or religiously that they think it's real, and then they're uncomfortable because they think, which is the opposite of what we want. We're not
Yes.
trying to convince people this is real. We know that there's secrets and there's methods and all of that, but we're trying to give them an experience.
Yeah.
But I have met a few people who they just were always told growing up that it was bad or evil or
Yes.
not right.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And then-
I've stumbled upon a few of those people as well.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's concerning to me, really, when
Yeah. Something that I meant to bring up a few minutes ago.
Oh, yes.
Regarding all the asking questions
Yes.
in my performance. Something that blew my mind and that I find absolutely fascinating
Yeah.
is the fact that, we know magic revolves around secrets.
Yes.
And we magicians need to keep those secrets for the audience's enjoyment of the experience. But of course, we human beings are wired to find explanations, and most of us, all of us maybe, are very curious creatures.
Yes.
So where I'm going with all of this, I ended up doing 41 performances
Of
throughout
Seesaw.
the whole run.
And this is over 6 weeks or
Over 7 weeks.
7 weeks.
I ended up doing 41 performances.
Yeah.
With almost 1,000 people. I have the exact number, but almost 1,000 people saw the show.
Wow.
Just once somebody asked how the tricks are done.
Wow.
And I addressed this person kindly.
Yeah.
I told this person that I would rather not discuss that because I imagine there are some other people in the audience who would rather not know. This person understood where I was coming from, and
Yeah.
he was perfectly happy with that. But besides this one person who was kind of understanding, it blows my mind that out of almost 1,000 people, they had way better questions than
Right.
how are the tricks done.
Well, see, and that just speaks to the performance and to what you created, because oftentimes, and I will say this, you don't have to, I've seen magic shows where there's nothing presented except for a secret. And there's nothing presented other than, here's something I can do that you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
So the only question people have to ask is, how is it done?
Yes.
But when you present, you're using magic not only as an entertainment, but it's also these jumping off points. Like you talk about, once in a lifetime moments, or you bring up these different things that get people to not only enjoy the magic, but then to think about maybe something else they question about life, or this idea of mystery or wonder, or what else could be possible. And so that's really because of who you are and what you've created. It's not, it's not a coincidence that 1,000 people saw it and none of them asked you except one person.
I appreciate
I
that.
think I really think that's beautiful. People who listen to the podcast know I love magic with my whole heart, and I also have a challenge with it sometimes because. Oh, wait, just a second here. We've got a leaf blower. This is one of the casualties of doing this outside.
This had to happen.
This had to happen
Yeah, it had to
eventually.
happen.
Right when we're getting existential and deep.
Yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with magic. And here's my challenge, is when it's done properly and when it's treated as art, it's beautiful. And when it's not, it saddens me.
I'm with you, yes.
Because it deserves so much more, and the audience deserves so much more thought than you just being able to do something that makes you look impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm so encouraged to hear you take this approach. And the reason I said before, I don't see that a lot in magic. So where did you pick that up? Where did you pick that up that art should be should transcend the performance? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And then again, I'm pleasantly surprised that all this comes across in my performance. I'm very glad to hear that.
It genuinely does.
I guess that if I have to answer that, I'd like to think that in my case, it has been exposure and interest in other art forms. I have a good friend who, and I've been doing magic for about 11 years.
Yeah.
Both of us started at magic simultaneously and would take interest in similar topics. And his whole shtick for all over these years, he has always said that magicians are two magicians, meaning that many magicians seem to focus only on magic.
Right.
It's all about magic and only about magic and only
Yeah.
about the secrets.
Yeah.
That's important, but that's not all there is to magic.
It's important, but it's not the most important thing.
Yes, I definitely don't think that's the most important part. Then again, I read this somewhere, and it has evolved in my mind with thoughts on my own or whatnot. But years ago, I read something along the lines, and these are the words of a magician, saying that the magician's goal is to fool the audience. It's like saying that a painter's goal is to smear paint on canvas. That's part of it, but
Yeah.
it's not what it's all about.
Right.
It's not only about fooling people or only about knowing a secret.
Yeah.
I believe that it's all about communicating something you care about.
Yes.
You see that in good literature. You see that in good film.
Yes.
You see that in any other performance art. Or
I'm glad you brought this up, because you went on Penn and Teller Fool Us, and you fooled them. And which is beautiful, by the way, it's a fantastic piece that you presented. But what I loved is when they're commenting on your presentation, they were fooled, but to them that wasn't the most important thing. Even though the show is called Fool Us, they talked about how enjoyable you were. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like performers, whether it's musicians or magicians or comedians, the best gift we have to give people is the uniqueness of ourselves. And you really do that. And I think that's why, people are responding to you the way they are. So
I appreciate it.
this is just welcome to the podcast where I just encourage Siegfried and tell him how great I think he is. No, I really, I'm really encouraged by this because, like I said, these are my challenges with it. Is like, we call it an art, but do we treat it like an art?
That is a very good point. Yes, many times we don't, and that's sad and upsetting to a certain point. Yeah.
You just finished your run, your 41 shows, not that long ago, right? It's just been a little while. So
about a month ago.
And when you were doing that, was it like a whirlwind? Do you get into a groove? I mean, 41 shows in that short amount of time is amazing. What was it like? Was it exhausting? Was it exhilarating?
Physically, it was a little tiring because I was doing 6 shows a week.
Yeah.
Practically most weeks I did 6 shows. But mentally, it was very, very enjoyable. It was no. I was enjoying every single moment of that. Then again, physically, it was tiring a little bit, but I did that with all the happiness of my world. It was very enjoyable.
Was it a little challenging when the run? Because I know it got extended from what it originally was going to be a shorter run, and it got extended twice, right, or something like that.
Yes,
and so, when it was finally over, was there a little bit of a letdown? Like, I mean, I know it went further than you even wanted it to, or thought it was going to go initially.
Yes.
So it's not that it wasn't successful. I'm saying when it was over, though, were you a little bit like, I kind of miss going and doing this show?
Definitely, yes. Yes, partly because I already got into the habit, I guess, after doing it for 7 weeks in a row.
Right, oh yeah.
But it was also the fact, and mainly the fact that I was really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I did miss it, and I guess still to this day I miss it, and it feels odd.
Are you getting ready to do another run sometime soon?
I'm ready. I would do it. I would do it.
Oh man, that's exciting. What for you as an artist? What do you have like an ultimate picture of what you want to do artistically? What does that look like? Does that look like the Siegfried Tieber theater that people come to? Does that look like putting up one-man shows all over the place? What, you know what I mean? Is there?
Yes. I guess that there is something I have in mind, and probably this vision has become a bit more clear in the last 2 years or the last year.
Yeah.
Ideally, but at least where I stand now, I'd be doing the project I did here in downtown, the Seesaw project. One of the reasons was because it was a close-up magic show, then again 24 people, where you actually get to meet every single person there.
Right.
One of the biggest compliments that I got in that show, and it was not meant repeatedly, it wasn't meant as a compliment, but I like to take it that way. When people, after the 2 hours that we'd spent together between performance and conversation, when people would say goodbye, they would say nice things about the show and whatnot, but many people would say that it had been nice to meet me.
Yes.
That I take as the highest compliment. I hope that people walked out of the room not saying, oh, this was a fun show, but oh, this was an interesting human being that I got to know.
Yes.
And then again, that is, I believe, the power of close-up magic, to create a legitimate connection with the audience. Let me go on another tangent.
No, please.
You know the musical Hamilton.
Yes.
That it's created a crazy big success for the last 2 years.
Totally.
They, with the musical, they released a book that contained all the lyrics and a little bit of the background story and whatnot.
Yeah.
I read the thing, and there was something, I read this shortly after the musical premiered, or when the book came out. Maybe at least a year ago, and it hit me really hard. In there, it is described that Lin-Manuel Miranda, the
Yes.
guy performer, writer, director,
Totally.
before every performance, he would gather his cast, like a few words of encouragement. Okay, guys, let's do it. They are here. They paid a lot of money for this, so let's do our best. And he would tell them that for the next 2 hours of his life,
Yeah.
those people in the audience are the most important people in his life.
Wow.
I think that's a beautiful approach to live performance.
And to life in general.
And to life in general, yes. Because all of us have troubles that we need to pay bills and we need to do the groceries and
Right.
do laundry and whatnot. But once, especially if you're a live performer, the idea of being in the moment and fully present for that group of people that you might never encounter again, at least, as this guy said, for at least for the
Yeah.
next 2 hours, I'm going to put my world aside and you are the most
beautiful.
important thing. I think that's fantastic.
That's beautiful. I mean, time, it's a cliche, but it's a reality, is that time is the most valuable resource we have. It's
Yeah.
the one thing we can't get more of. You can always get more money. You
Yeah.
can't get more time.
Yeah. Yes.
And so when have you ever met somebody and as you're talking with them, you know, maybe it was on a bus somewhere or at the airport, or you're at a family gathering and you meet a friend of a family member and you have this wonderful connection with them. And then afterward, you're trying to figure out what was so special. And it was, a lot of times I find, it was that this person took the time to sit and just talk with me.
Uh-huh.
That they, you know what I mean? That
Yeah. No,
It's-
definitely. It makes sense.
I just think that, I think we underestimate that. And with you doing this with close-up magic, what people don't understand is a lot of times they think, oh, a deck of cards, that's so much easier than going and doing a big stage show with props and all this. No, think about this. You're doing the same amount of time, the same amount of energy, the same amount of rehearsal for 24 people that it takes to present to 2,000 people in an auditorium.
Yes.
The same
Yes.
amount of time.
Yeah.
And yet you're saying, no, I'm going to focus in on the experience one-on-one with these people.
Yeah.
That's powerful, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No. And then again, that's in my mind the power and the beauty, the potential and the beauty of close-up magic.
Yeah.
Many close-up magic shows, if properly set, might play for an audience of 100 if you have nice staggered seats in a theater, but it's just not the same.
Yeah. Well, and at a certain point, people are putting up screens and they're projecting it on video.
Yes.
And now you've lost. Now someone's looking at a screen, which I forget what I think the last stat I saw was like the average American spends 7 to 8 hours a day looking at a screen, whether it's their phone or the TV or a computer at work.
Wow.
So I think like the minute we in our shows are now encouraging them to disconnect from a person and to look at something that could be videotaped. So
Yes. Yeah.
it's it's very cool. It's very cool, man. Make me want to just
Do close-up magic.
I want to
If
see
you wanna do
people.
close-up magic, yeah.
It's powerful, man.
Yeah. You asked me what my ideal would be. And then again, I started saying that the performance I did downtown, that was my ideal. Because, first of all, it's close-up magic, close proximity to people, and you really get to meet 24 people at a time and spend 2 hours of your life with them. But what I also find very peculiar and fascinating about a project like this is that you put a lot of work into creating this thing. For me, for this project, it was on the back of my mind for over a year, but then the 6 months before opening night were intense preparation. So you put all this energy and passion and love to concluding to a 2-hour performance.
Right, yeah.
And ideally what I'd love to do is a project like this, maybe present it in a few different cities.
Yes.
Once you feel comfortable with the material, you can really go deeper into it. And then again, probably after 2 years of a run for this show, trying to come up with another project. What's next?
Oh, that's great.
Because I guess that also implies creative effort, which I enjoy, because you did this thing, people saw it, you need to come up with something new, which
Right.
is stressful but also very enjoyable.
Right, and the people want to experience another unique moment with you. You know, that's beautiful. I think I told you before, but this podcast it was not meant to be a how-to guide, and this hasn't been by any means. This is more heart and passion and all of that. But it's really also solidarity, because sometimes as artists, you know, we're the fun guys. We're the ones that are in front of people, and you are a very joyful person. But I'm sure there's times, and being an artist, there's times when it's challenging. It may be challenging with, you know, whether it's financially or artistically or frustrating creatively. What do you do to encourage yourself when you maybe don't, you know, feel as great as you'd like to?
What do I do? Try and take... I guess that my main struggle at this moment in my life is... I hope this doesn't sound too cliche,
No.
but the artistic struggle. Many wonderful things have happened in my life lately. I went to the show Penn and Teller, then I did this project in downtown, this run of shows. As we speak, I'm performing at the Magic Castle
Incredible.
in Hollywood, California, which is always a super exciting experience.
Yes.
I've put a lot of work into this. I've given my heart and soul to this. But like I think many of us, I also doubt myself. And before every performance, there's that little lingering doubt of...
What do you say?
Bashed in your car.
Shush! We're recording something.
I just bashed in your car.
I hope that's not true.
What?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
All right, so we're back. We're back with Siegfried Tieber. I've never had this happen before. We were having a conversation, and somebody ran into your car
Yep, that happened in real time.
in real time, and now we're just trying to... Are you sure you're okay to finish it? You seriously are the nicest guy in the entire world. So, anyway, I was asking you what you do when you get discouraged.
Oh, like no, perfect timing. Well. Then again, what I would do, I guess I try to be kind with myself.
Oh, that's good.
I try to... And I guess that I would go back and look into things that inspire me, that being other magicians, other performers, music, literature, something that reassures me that the world is a nice place.
That's so good.
I guess that I would go for inspiration or for something that makes me feel good about the world in general, and I mean it, and also about what I do.
That's so good, man. Yeah, I like how you said you try to be kind to yourself, because I've noticed I've always been fairly conscious of being kind to others, and yet I give myself a hard time over things that if somebody else did or struggled with or challenged by, I'd be like, it's okay, and then if I do it, I'm sometimes very hard on myself. Do you do that as well?
Same here. I tend to be hard, and I think that many of us tend to be our harshest critics.
Yes.
But I try to keep that in mind, and I try to, then again, just be kind. Look back at accomplishes and how far I've got into my career and life.
Yeah.
And just try to keep all those in mind.
That's so good, man. I've started this thing where I have conversations. I in my mind go back and I have conversations with myself as like an 8 or 9 year old kid, and I sit down with 8 or 9 year old Taylor and just tell him, look, you're doing the thing right now that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, maybe now you've got other ideas or other aspirations, but right now you're doing the thing that you dreamed about as a kid. Congratulations. You know, like
that's a lovely way to put it, and I might actually start doing that.
Yeah,
no,
beautiful.
that's lovely and makes a lot of sense.
It's encouraging. I think, you know, because I was challenged because my wife one day, I was like, I'm going to do this, and then that happened, and I was like, then I'm going to do this, and then that happened, and I'm going to do this, and then it happened, and then one day I said, I'm going to do this, and she said, and are you going to be happy then? And I was like, oh man.
Oh, wow.
And just a reminder to celebrate those moments.
Yes.
To not just be so much trying to push to the next thing that you don't enjoy it while it's going on,
Yes, I agree. I think that it's a very delicate balance between, then again, pushing for higher, farther, harder to reach goals, but also appreciating what you've already done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of goes back to your idea of just being present with the audience, and being present with yourself and enjoying the moment you're in.
Yeah. Eugene Berger, then again, for our listeners, a wonderful magician who just left us a few months ago.
Yeah, very
he
recently.
Made great contributions to the art of magic, published many books containing beautiful psychology, theory, philosophy of magic. He said this one thing, then again, I also stumbled upon this a few years ago and really hit me and stayed with me. He said that each performance is an end in itself.
Wow.
I think that's lovely and true, and it's a great tool to keep in mind.
Each performance is an end in itself.
Yeah, I think many of us, myself included, are looking forward for what's the next thing.
Yes.
But it's also nice to then again, stay in the moment and enjoy what you're doing, especially as live performers.
Yeah.
Just enjoying what you're doing on the moment.
That's glorious, man. I love that. That's so encouraging. That's so good. Man, it's just fun talking with you.
Yes,
people will have heard me say this in the intro, but it is like bottled sunshine, man. I swear, hanging out with you is like eating an ice cream sundae. It's just great. Where can people get a hold of you, Siegfried? As we kind of wrap here, I know you've got some more shows tonight. I want you to make sure you get a little rest. But where can people see what you're doing, follow along? Is there a website? Is there social media? How do they get in touch with you?
Yes, please. Mainly social media.
Yeah.
I would say Facebook, which is what I update most and more often. If you go to Facebook, Siegfried Tieber, please give them the correct spelling of my name.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's a tricky one. There's also my website, siegfriedtieber.com, and you'll find me on Facebook and on Instagram. And I'm always posting about upcoming performances and projects and whatnot. Follow me, look me up, come hang out, say hi.
Yes, and go check out his recent Fool Us episode. It was amazing. If you're listening to the podcast right now, you can go on the show notes, just click on the little picture there of Siegfried, and it'll flip around, and magically words will appear. And I'll put a link to all of those sites and social media, so you can go follow Siegfried and check him out, and be the first to hear about the next time Seesaw pops up, and get tickets before it sells out like it did this time. Siegfried, thank you so much, man. I'm going to turn this off. We can keep chatting, but I'm going to turn this off.
Sounds good. Thank you.